Oh, there's one. Hello and welcome to the third and final episode of the 3 essential steelhead flies for this fall. This is like I said, the final episode, and it's going to be my favorite all-time steelhead fly for the Great Lakes. It's a sculpin pattern that I created called the Firefly. This fly is amazing throughout the entire steelhead season. Picks out the really aggressive fish. I tie it in both weighted and unweighted, but I like the unweighted better just because it casts a little bit better on a light switch rod. But let's get a closer look at some of the features of this fly. This fly obviously has a very large hot spot made up of bright orange Senyo's laser dub and some purple ice dub. So that's all for the head. And then if you look in a little closer, you have the Zonker wing with some flashaboo. And then here we have some rubber legs. And the main body is made up of this polar chenille in rusty copper UV. It's a super cool, flashy material. I don't use it on a ton of flies, but it has plenty of movement, and it just looks really good in the water. So that's the Firefly, and let's get tying. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is secure a 15 to 20 millimeter upturned eye shank into your vise, and then just start your thread. You just want to completely cover the shank with thread, and then we're just going to add some super glue. And spread it around with a bodkin or something just to secure the thread. Alright, so the first step of tying this fly is going to be adding some intruder wire and a hook. So you're going to want to cut off about 4 to 5 inches of intruder wire, and then just make a loop, slip it over the hook to secure it. Then we're just going to tie this down. And you want to pre-cut your zonker just to measure it so that it will be the exact same length. Right about there is good. Then we'll finish tying that off with some nice secure wraps. Then we're going to be doubling this over, slipping it through the eye of the shank, then wrapping back on itself. This is just going to make sure that's not going to go anywhere. Really crank on that thread. You want it to be really tight. Alright, and then the first material that we're going to be putting into this fly is going to be the polar chenille and the rusty copper UV. It's going to be the main body of the fly. So I'll tie that in. You don't want to be right on top of the wire here. You just want to be right in front of it. Make sure you tie that down with nice tight wraps. Then we're just going to make nice tight wraps with the chenille up to the thread. And then every 4 or 5 wraps, you just want to pull that nice and tight just so that there's no gaps. I'm just going to tie that down. Secure it, cut the excess off. Make a couple nice tight wraps over that. And then the next step will be to tie in the zonker, which we're just going to be setting right on top. Make a couple loose wraps over, just like we did in the peach powder video. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch it now. Just going to make a couple loose wraps over that, and then really pull our thread tight. Cut off that little bit of leather there. And then finish wrapping over it. Then the next step will be the Flashaboo. I'm just going to be using this dark rainbow Flashaboo here. It's going to cut about, I don't know, 10 strands. About 10 strands off of there. Just going to make sure it's the right length here. Let's put a couple loose wraps over that, and then really pull it down. Then we're just going to fold the Flashaboo over. Do the same thing. Alright, and this part I usually always forget about. It's very easy to forget. Is the rubber legs. Alright, so you're going to pick 2 strands of rubber legs. Just going to fold them over the thread. And then wrap it on one side. And then just kind of lay them along the Zonker strip. Because you're going to be folding these over and putting some on the other side. Just like that. Nice tight wraps to secure them. Just like that. And as you can see, you have a big neck or head built up right here. We're going to be covering that with dubbing. And for that, we have some Hairline Ice Dub in purple, and then some Senyo's Laser Dub in fluorescent orange. We're just going to be combining those. You want the majority to be the hot orange. Should look something like that. Then I just like to take half of it, put half of it right at the butt by the Zonker here. That's just going to cover up that big head. You're not going to dub it, you're kind of just lay it right down and then just kind of roll it over the shank. Just make a couple loose wraps around that and then pull it tight. Fold the dubbing that's in the front back over. Then make a couple more wraps over that just to secure it. Then we're going to take the rest of our dubbing and put it right over the head here the exact same way. A couple loose wraps, then a couple tight wraps. Fold it back over. And your thread should be butting up right against the eye of the shank. If you tie this fly right, you shouldn't even see your thread. So honestly, it doesn't even really matter what color thread you use. Then just take your whip finisher. I would do 7 to 8 turns. Tie that off. Then the last step will just be brushing out the head. Just get any loose fibers out of there. Just kind of brush the tail, make sure everything's all in place. Alright, so that's the Firefly. Very fast, simple to tie. And this is actually the fly that I landed my first ever steelhead on the swung fly on. It's been my favorite ever since. Alright, that's going to be the end of today's video. Hope you liked it. Hope you learned a little bit from it. If you haven't gone back into the series and seen the other videos, we have some great steelhead flies that we tied up. I hope the series was very informative, and I hope you added a couple more steelhead flies to your arsenal. Before this winter, we're going to have another series quite like this one, where we're going to be tying some nymphing flies. It's something we don't do a whole lot of, but it does have its place. And this has been Erie Fishing. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
When you watch this, you're gonna laugh. Do it again. In form it is.
Look, the act, like,
about that fly. I don't.
Bye bye.